Right, Sean, hello.
Hi, Katie.
So I'm curious to know about being AI and what you folk over there are trying to achieve in the near and far future.
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, Being AI was initially founded by David McDonald, and David McDonald he's a luminary. He's a futurist that has made a lot of money understanding where the future is going. And a couple years ago, he really identified that artificial intelligence was going to fundamentally change the way we do everything in the world. And so he founded Being AI to help society do those transformations. Now, part of that is businesses need help doing it. And so we are a consultancy firm. We come in and help businesses identify what they need to do to be able to get value out of artificial intelligence, how they can stay ahead of their competitors with artificial intelligence. The difference with Being AI is that we're also an investment company. So oftentimes we will go in and co-fund a company that wants to transform. We will buy a company out that wants to transform but doesn't have either the capital or the gravitas to be able to do it. In addition, we have a huge labs department that we build patentable AI products that come to market. So Judith Collins did an interview about a week and a half ago where she talked about how artificial intelligence in education around tutoring and things is going to be huge, especially for New Zealand going forward. We are in the forefront of that. We are building patentable AI education tutors. We own a school, a charter school, one of only 2 schools in New Zealand that are rated to be able to do online content for students. And we are in the process of building those products now today.
Wow, awesome. And apart from education, are there other industries that you are focusing on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're across industries, but David has identified certain key industries that it makes sense for us to. So industries that have structural networks, like shipping companies. Artificial intelligence is going to change the way they do what they do and how they do it, but their networks are going to become the valuable thing, right? So we have purchased a logistics company, and we're currently in the process of AI-ifying that logistics company. But there are others as well. There are going to be health networks. There are going to be social networks. We're going to see lots of spaces. But in the meantime, we're also working with standard enterprises that just are like, oh my God, we need to do something with AI, and we don't have any idea where to start.
So to build on that question is obviously, ideally technology is something that solves real world problems.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the large problems in New Zealand are things like the housing market and healthcare and poverty and food. And so what is your perspective around using AI? A lot of what we see is these sort of slightly more gimmicky
Well,
AI tools.
That's what gets the press, right? The reality is that, so let's take Woolworths, for example. Woolworths has more information about its customers than pretty much anybody else in New Zealand because their customers come in and buy at grocery stores. Based on that information, they have built, and they've been in the press about it, they have built artificial intelligence that makes them be able to offer the right offerings to those customers as they come. But that's not gimmicky. That's identifying what the person wants at the time that they go into the store and making sure.
So that's like affordability and types of food.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's 2 aspects to it. The first is that artificial Gen AI is the cream on the coffee. The artificial intelligence is the rest of the coffee. Gen AI is spectacular right now because of ChatGPT, and everybody likes it and everybody can interact with it. But the iPhone was that way in 2007. Everybody wanted an iPhone, but they couldn't do anything for work with an iPhone. Now, at work, almost everybody uses an iPhone or an Android phone to do all of their work. So that's what we're going to see with artificial intelligence. Yes, we see the Gen AI right now because it's flashy in ChatGPT, but the reality is the transformation is going to be a massive amount of other stuff underneath the covers. But let's talk about the things we're challenged with in New Zealand around housing and poverty. Artificial intelligence is going to allow us, anecdotally, we feel like we understand it. Like you will go out to buy a house and you look at 2 or 3 houses and you go, okay, well, I understand the housing market. But do you? Artificial intelligence is going to allow us to look at vast swaths of data that we never could look at before and actually get real answers out of it. And then that will allow us to invest and to solve some of those problems. David is famous for standing on stage and saying he really believes that our society is going to have to change a little bit, because the productivity that we're going to get with artificial intelligence within businesses is going to be staggering. Right now, as an organization, you could easily get 20 to 30% productivity gain just by enabling artificial intelligence in your back office. In the next 3 years, that's 50 to 70% productivity gain. So the question is, what do we do with all our additional time?
Right.
Do we start solving some of those problems?
Yeah, true.
So David really believes, and I completely agree, that our society is going to go through a change similar to the change from horse and buggy to cars that happened in the 19 teens.
Right.
Now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. Lot to do.
Yeah.
So that will probably see a ripple effect around job roles and personal identity and the way that people feel they provide value in organizations and things like that.
Absolutely. And the reason that people go to work is going to fundamentally change.
Yeah, interesting. So there is a lot of uncertainty around AI, and do you think we should be thinking about AI as friend or foe?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. There's been a lot of hyperbole in the press, especially by some big, bold people like Elon Musk, about how AI is a existential risk to humanity.
Yeah, we've all seen the movies.
Yes. The reality is that it's a little bit more benign than that, but at the same time it's transformational. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How many of your family members do you know their phone numbers by number?
Just my mum and dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, how many phone numbers did you have to memorize?
Probably my best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what has allowed that to happen?
Needing to.
Well, yeah, the contacts in your phone. So your phone has become an extension of your memory in a way that means that you don't have to memorize phone numbers anymore the way that you used to. That is the risk of artificial intelligence.
Right.
It's
too convenient.
Well, it's the risk and it's the opportunity, right? So it's the calculator moment. So you don't have to memorize all the multiplication tables because you have ready access to a calculator all the time. You don't have to memorize, for me, an American, all of the U.S. presidents because I can go into Wikipedia and see all of the U.S. presidents.
Yeah.
So the opportunity there is that artificial intelligence is going to augment you going forward to make it easier for you to do the things you need to do on a daily basis. The risk is complacency. The risk is that you are going to be complacent to the point where if a CrowdStrike event happens and you don't have access to artificial intelligence anymore, can you operate?
Yeah.
And I think at least for the next 5 years, that's the real risk.
So it's like similar to how a lot of us feel already with our dependencies on our phones. You know, our phones are an extension of ourselves, and we almost feel like we're missing something when we don't have it.
That's right.
So that's sort of something that will begin to get a massive reliance on these tools.
Oh, that's right. Well, and we already are. So if you look at worldwide, and you look at schools, most of the students in schools are no longer using Google to search for stuff. They're just going into ChatGPT and asking a question, and ChatGPT tells them the answer. Yeah,
and so they're kind of losing that opportunity to use their brains in that really deep way.
Yeah, and to have critical thinking. Yeah. So here's a website, and comparing the two and deciding which one's the right one. Instead, they're just going to ChatGPT, and whichever one is higher up on the ranking list, that's the answer that ChatGPT.
Because it already feels like on social media, I don't know if this is related, but like the algorithms and the way that, you can go on your social media and think everybody is talking about this one specific topic, but actually they're not. And it's these little micro worlds of, and you just think this is everything right now, but it's actually not. Yeah. And so that's kind of a part of that lack of loss of control and critical thinking.
That's the risk.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the answer that you're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years, and by the way, it's going to come from the top. And what I mean by the top, it's going to come from the 1%. Because the 1% are going to realize that this is happening and they're going to want to put stuff into place. And what they're going to put into place is you're going to have an AI that's for you. And that AI is going to work so instead of using ChatGPT's AI or Facebook's AI or Google's AI. You're going to have a Katie AI. Oh. And that AI is going to talk to the other AIs, and it's going to act as a filter for critical thinking.
That's good. I need a filter.
And you're going to be able to go into that AI, and you're going to be able to say, give me differing viewpoints. You can tell it, give me differing viewpoints to my viewpoint so that I can level set what it is that I'm doing.
So it can be used as a tool for breaking through your limiting beliefs and things.
Yes.
So you could look at
getting you outside of your echo chamber.
Yeah, like how am I showing up in my life and what are the patterns?
Yes.
So like that kind of therapy aspect
Yes.
and helping people to be more self-reflective.
Yes,
and
it's gonna run locally on your device.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about sovereign AI in a minute. Mm-hmm. It's going to run locally on your device, and it's going to give you the ability to really make sure that the decisions and things you're making are taking all of the aspects into viewpoint. Now, the reality is that a lot of people won't uptake that because it'll just be too hard.
They might not want to have that level of insight into themselves.
They live in an echo chamber and they like it. They're comfortable within the echo chamber. And so there are going to be a vast number of people who don't and continue to use the social media driven ones. And so there will be some trade-offs that go back and forth. But the opportunity will be there for you to run an AI and to get that critical thinking and help you with that critical thinking. So if you're one of those people who tends to fall back into your social media echo chamber, you can, if you're aware of this, if you're self-aware enough that you realize that it's happening, you'll be able to go to the AI and say, hey, help me with this.
Right. Yeah, I kind of feel like there seems to be, this is a simplified perspective, but there's sort of two mindsets. There's people who consume and there's people who create.
Yeah.
And I think humans love to create and progress in life, and we want to be, using that creative energy. So it would be amazing to see how technology can support that.
Yep.
And help with building confidence with creation and progress, as opposed to sucking people into, consumption and that sort of thing more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so it's a lot about individuals and how they choose to approach it.
It will be. There will be opportunities there within artificial intelligence, and the reality is that a lot of for-profit companies will take advantage of those people who don't want to take the opportunity.
I mean, is it new? Is that new?
No. Yeah, status quo.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, cool. So obviously here at Team Cloud, we have launched the New Zealand's very first hyperscale sovereign cloud service, which is very exciting. And I would love to hear your perspective and explanation about what sovereign AI is and how that could be helpful for New Zealand organisations and people.
Yeah, so sovereign AI has less to do with technology and more to do with how the technology functions. So understand that most of the worldwide AI platforms like ChatGPT have been trained on a massive amount of data. Surprisingly enough, most of that data out of the US, but a lot of the data out of India. Okay. So the combination of those data is driving it. So New Zealand is a small 5 million person country. Our data doesn't even register as a rounding error in the data that was used to train those models.
Right.
What sovereign AI is two main things. The first one is that the AI runs here in New Zealand, and so when it interacts with New Zealand people, the data that it gathers, because AI does two things. It uses data to train itself, but then it gathers data as it interacts with people. So the data that it gathers stays here in New Zealand. That's part of it. The second part is that the AI has been trained using data in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, Dragon software, which is the legacy, is the legacy transcription service that has been around since the late 90s. Mm-hmm. In the early 2000s, it was roughly 92% accurate. What I mean by that is that you could turn Dragon on and it would create a transcript and 92% of the stuff was correct in it.
Right.
As long as you were speaking in American English.
Okay.
If you had an accent, if you used non-English words, it didn't do very good. Mm-hmm. Dragon has since bought a very large NLP product, and they have enhanced their product, and they're roughly about 90% to 98% accurate, depending on which language you speak. New Zealand accents and Maori words, they're not very good with. No. But there are some natural language processing products that are being developed in New Zealand, specifically around Maori language, that do very well with it. And so part of sovereign AI is being trained on data that allows them to understand and to respond to the way that we talk here in New Zealand. The second is that the data it gathers is kept here in New Zealand to be used for New Zealand. Because the sea of data that exists overseas, once our data goes into that, you can't even find it.
Right.
The third thing, and this is not it's not a technology thing, it's a regulatory thing, right? So there is this view within the New Zealand wider community with artificial intelligence that we need to be doing things, identifying bias and fixing it where possible, being ethical in how we build AI. And those things are uniquely New Zealand because we are a very transparent country. Our government ranks 1 or 2 most transparent in the world regularly. And so to carry that forward into AI, we really want to make sure that we're doing good and we're doing it in the right ways in New Zealand. So those 3 things for a sovereign AI in New Zealand, that's what it means. You are going to see sovereign AIs overseas as well. So there are going to be African countries, there are going to be Asian countries, there are going to be American, North and South American countries that eventually stand up sovereign AI within their countries. Mostly for the first 2, to make sure that it's trained on data that is relevant to them in a way that makes it useful to them within the country, and so that the data that it gathers is used within the country for country good.
So it's going to be very important to have Māori and a wide range of people within New Zealand inputting data into our sovereign AI so that they can build their own source of and benefit from that. So promoting pickup in schools and everything will be a big important key.
And one of the things that, and we're starting to see this within the New Zealand Health, but one of the things is going to be, and the community is going to have to be compensated for the use of that data. So there are a whole bunch of discussions going on right now about your personal data and okay, if I'm going to use your data, how do I compensate you for that data? Now, when compensation might be microtransactions, you might get 0.1 of a cent every time I use your data to do something. Now that's not significant. It's not world changing. It's not going to change your life, but you will feel that you're getting compensated for the data that you use.
It's cash flow.
Yeah.
And so who would pay that? It would be the organizations who are benefiting from the data. Like Woolworths, for example, like you mentioned.
Yeah, could be. Right. Oh, and Woolworths is already doing it. So if you're a part of the rewards club within Woolworths, you're getting a discount for the products that you buy that if I'm not a part of the rewards program, I don't get.
There you go. Who knew?
The reason they're doing that is because your data is valuable to them and they want you to have an input into how your data is used.
Yes, nice, Woolworths. So a lot of people in their jobs, employees and leaders in organizations and businesses, I'm sure, are very interested in AI, particularly sovereign AI, but no doubt are running into, in the busyness of life, it can be really difficult to figure out how to get started, especially with it being so new. So what advice would you give anybody out there who wants to take initiative and implement something in AI or level up what they're already doing, in a way to kind of move that along within whatever they're working on?
So, okay, the plug. I'm supposed to plug because I'm a consultant at Being AI. Of course, at Being AI, we can come along and help you. But okay, plug done. Here's the reality. If you believe in your organization you're not using AI, I'm going to tell you that if you walked around your floor, you would find out you are. Most likely your organization is using what we call shadow AI. And what that means is somebody has a personal account that they're using to help them do their job. Or they're just using Google. So when you Google, you're using AI to search for stuff, but you're using Google's data and Google's business context to do it instead of your own. That's the reality. The second thing is that the number one reason that AI initiatives fail within organizations is lack of knowledge and understanding at the leadership level about what AI is and what it isn't, and what it takes to deliver AI and what is not there to deliver AI. That goes back about 10 years. I've been doing this for about 10 years with artificial intelligence, and the number one factor is if you get your leadership team knowledgeable about what AI is and isn't and what it takes to do it, projects succeed. So my recommendation would be either, come to Being AI or come to somebody and help educate your leadership team and your board of directors. Because as soon as they understand what they can get from AI and what it takes to actually deliver it, then they'll be on board with transforming your business. Now here's the scary part. If you don't, you're on the clock. And what I mean by that is within the next 3 years, someone is going to come in and eat your entire business with 20% of your staff and do everything that you do and more using artificial intelligence. Sam Altman is on record as saying that he believes there will be a $1 billion unicorn within the next year that is run by one person. So if you believe that you're safe, like you own a waste management company, and so you're like, yeah, I'm a waste management company. AI can't do anything. Let me assure you that your entire back office process can be done with 20% of your staff. And so that's the reality that business leaders need to wake up to. The AI transformation is not about technology. The AI transformation is about business transformation and the changing of not only how businesses do what they do, but what they do. And that's what the next 3 to 5 years is going to show.
So step one would be find an expert,
Yes.
such as yourselves or another person,
Yes.
and maybe get a second opinion
Yes.
as well. I'm sure
Yes.
there's plenty of people out there
Absolutely.
who are, very interested in becoming consultants and things like this, but maybe get a couple of different opinions and hear a few specialists out and just learn to.
But it is a business thing. And that's the business needs to understand what artificial intelligence. Look, this isn't cloud adoption. Cloud adoption was a pure technology thing, and literally the conversations between business and technology was, are you going to reduce our costs? Yes, I'm going to reduce our costs. Okay, go do cloud. That's not what this is. This is akin to us going from carbon copy ledgers to Excel spreadsheets. Okay, entire accounting department, we're going to change how you do everything you do on a daily basis because we're going to put in this technology that fundamentally changes it. Only it's every single business process is going to be changed by this.
So whenever a new technology is implemented into a business or an organization, it can be a very disruptive experience. It can really change company culture. And obviously with our mental health crisis, there's a lot of people who are really focused on providing stability and security and well-being in workplaces. So what would your guidance be around, AI is such a fast-moving thing. How can we slow down and really help bring people on that journey?
So it's a good question. If you had asked me that 3 years ago, I would have said your organization from a leadership level needs to set the strategic direction and needs to bring everybody along, and they need to have champions within the organization to help do that. The horse has left the barn. ChatGPT has changed that conversation. The reality is that adoption of AI is now coming from the bottom up. The bad news about that is that the existential risk to your business is significant. Samsung has blocked all access to ChatGPT because of serious leakages of their internal data into ChatGPT. So now the business leadership needs to take a more forward-looking strategic vision about what they do because it's coming. The bottom up is coming.
So the leadership need to understand the security risks to protect their employees so that employees don't make these mistakes.
While still giving them access to the tools to be able to do it, because if the employees don't get access to ChatGPT to be able to do their job, they're just going to go use it.
They're just going to go do it.
Yeah, they're going to go do because the employees from the bottom up have figured out, hey, something it took me 4 hours before.
Especially younger generations where we are embracing, everybody's embracing technology.
I mean, we're genuinely seeing from marketing departments and from content writing departments that something that took 4 hours 2 years ago, I can get done in 15 minutes now. And they're not going to go back.
No.
It's akin to saying, you can't use Google to look up stuff you don't understand. The horse has left the barn. The business now needs to start setting the strategic direction for the organization.
Parameters around it.
And still giving the tools to the business to allow them to do what they need to do.
Yeah, interesting.